Athletic Center as the UMass Boston Beacons get set for a non-conference battle taking on the Wentworth Leopards. We thank you for tuning into our broadcast. I'm Elijah Gonzalez here for all the action this evening. Well, for both these teams, they're both coming off, ironically, a loss against Emmanuel College and looking to rebound here tonight. And we take a look at the matchup all-time series between these two teams. And for both teams, it's really been dominated by UMass Boston. A lot of success recently for UMass Boston. Been a while since these two teams have seen each other. However, for UMass Boston, again, the success has come for these last few meetings between these two teams. Like I mentioned before, both teams coming off of a loss against Emmanuel College, and both teams really games in which Emmanuel College was in charge the entire way. Wentworth, they had to have a 12-0 run that came from Emmanuel in the second half to get them in front, and for UMass Boston also gave up a run late in the second half to allow Emmanuel to get the win as well. We take a look at our matchup here between our two players that we have to watch. And of course, for Wentworth, it's a very easy choice. Stephen Azooms, he has been superb so far this year for Wentworth. 4 double-doubles on the year. And for UMass Boston, Kevin Nunez has been just as impressive. He's got a couple of solid games to his credit as well. But again, for Azooms, his 4th double-double came in the last time out against Emmanuel College. Kevin Nunez with also another career night as well as he came out for UMass Boston in their loss to Emmanuel College. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll have more coverage for you right here from the Clark Athletic Center. It's the final time in 2018 for UMass Boston. We'll be back right after this.
For the love of the game. That's what it's all about, they say. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team and the schools and communities we represent.
And for the many of us blessed with the strength to compete in sport at the college level, we understand that with what we were given comes a special obligation.
An obligation not merely to work towards a personal best in the classroom or in the sport we love, but rather an obligation to help those who have their own special needs and whose love for the game is no less intense.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. For Special Olympics athletes, victory belongs not only to those who first cross the line, but to all of those who compete and endure.
They are challenged in ways we cannot imagine. They are survivors who test themselves harder and with greater joy than we will ever know.
Since August of 2011, we and others from Division III campus communities have volunteered more than 250,000 hours, time away from the classroom and practice field, reaching across the country to coach and mentor Special Olympics athletes.
And to learn, as we all do, that in giving we receive so much more in return.
Sport ennobles us. And in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
Be part of it.
Get involved.
You can make a difference.
Welcome back inside the Clark Athletic Center as UMass Boston gets set for a battle with Wentworth here in their final game in the 2018 part of this year. I'm Elijah Gonzalez. Gigi Braga is alongside me. And Gigi, let's take a look now at the statistics between these two teams. And again, we mentioned that both teams are coming off a loss against Emmanuel College. Both stats might have been a little bit inflated after that game, but for both of these teams, they've had a lot of success throughout the year scoring the basketball. UMass Boston, though, one area that they really have a lot of success with is the turnovers, as they have forced in their last game against Emmanuel, forced 22 turnovers during that contest for UMass Boston. So they have had a lot of promise in that regard, and it was something that for Coach Jason Harris, he had talked about his team needed to be better defensively, especially in that second half in their first home opener against points per game for UMass Boston a little bit more, but again, the key for UMass Boston definitely going to be able to force turnovers in this contest tonight.
Well, I mean, when you're facing two teams that are so identical, as you see there on the stat sheet, the only difference that I can think of is that this Wentworth team relies so heavily on Stephen Azooms, where the Beacons, you know, they got a couple of guys that can shine one day here and there, and as we're going to take a look at the team leaders in a little bit, and it's all going to be Stephen Asums for the Leopards here today. But for the Beacons, Michael Boyd might have a great game one day. Charlie Mitchell, Charles Mitchell, Malik Lorquette's been having a great season. Javaris Hill, putting up 30 points the other day. Like, the Beacons have a lot of guys that they can rely on, whereas this Wentworth team really relies heavily on Asums. So if he's not having a good day, doesn't look like they will either.
And Stephen Asums, always a tough matchup for any team, standing at 6'7". And he's been, as you mentioned, one of the leaders for Wentworth. As we take a look at our team leaders for both of these teams, and again, you mentioned Stephen Asums and what he does offensively for this team, but also on the glass. We talked about it for UMass Boston. One guy not on that list that has had some success this year, just hasn't led in every category, Javaris Hill. Another solid freshman campaign for him.
When you come in and as a freshman, I believe it was his third or fourth game, and you drop 30 points, that's ridiculous. Now, I don't think any Beacon has dropped 30 points this season by himself, even last season. And that's just great for him. He's such an offensive threat, and if he can really find his rhythm at the beginning of a game, it's going to be really hard to stop him. Really important for him to stay out of foul trouble, though. He can get a little reckless here and there, but man, if he shines again like he did the other night, he's going to have a great day here against the Leopards.
We mentioned Kevin Nunez at the top, 7.3 rebounds per game. Going to be huge tonight for UMass Boston, trying to keep, as you see there, Stephen Asums off the glass, guy who's averaging just over 11 rebounds a game for Wentworth here this year. We take a look at the Wentworth head coach, Arlen Galloway, and for Arlen Galloway, it hasn't been the year that they've wanted so far to start this season, Gigi, but still a long way to go for this Wentworth team. And as you mentioned, it's never a bad thing when you have a guy like Stephen Asums on your roster.
Yeah, well, you're getting off to a slow start. You're 2-6. You're only 1-2. You're playing in a tough league in the Commonwealth Coast Conference. And, it's not going to be easy, but, he's over here in his sixth season, and he's building himself a program, and he's got great talent in his team. And I think that it just comes down to, the early games in the season. You just got to start piecing things together little by little.
His first season they ended up getting a win over top of the number 2 seed in the conference tournament during that campaign. Of course, for UMass Boston, it's head coach Jason Harris and what he's done with this program. But for Coach Harris in his 4th year for UMass Boston, really brought this program and continued to grow it, but continued to talk multiple times. They have to be better defensively, and tonight that's going to be crucial against such a talented offense for Wentworth.
Well, you said it perfectly there, Elijah. And we have a program here in front of us, so we can see where all these UMass Boston guys are from. And he recruits locally. You got a bunch of guys who played together in high school, played club together. They have that chemistry. But when you bring in this many freshmen and talented freshmen, and they're getting a lot of minutes, they're getting their good playing time, it takes a little bit. And I think what he wants a lot out of his team is just that compete aspect. He wants them to fight. This is a non-conference game, so it's not as important, we'll say, as a conference game. You're not fighting for essentially an NCAA bid, but it's still a game for you to, you get your confidence up. You play some of your players that, you might not play regularly or whatever it may be, but you still want your guys to compete and to fight and to have that killer instinct in them to know that they have the potential to win every single game.
And for Wentworth, as we take a look now at their starting lineup, at what they will bring out here tonight for the Leopards, it's been, again, we've talked about for them that it's been the Stephen Asums show, but they've got a couple of guys, including Elias Christmas, that can really shoot it from beyond the arc. Yeah,
they're a good 3-point shooting team. They do have an edge against that on the Beacons. Definitely going to look for Charles Mitchell to, ignite his flame a little bit today. Alex Sanchez as well. But again, Gavin Keogh coming out. I believe he had a double-double their last time out against Emmanuel College. And, the Wentworth players are going to have to play key roles today. And maybe it's not leading in every single stat category, but they need to rely on a couple of players to put up, 7, 8, 9 points, stuff like that it's not going to just be on Asums.
And for Wentworth, they're going to have to find a way to knock down free throws. 8th in the conference in that regard. They shoot just 69% from the foul line for Wentworth.
Well, you look on the flip side there, and the Beacons are not that much better of a free throw shooting team than these Wentworth Leopards. So I think that anytime that there's a foul, it's going to be a little bit of an interesting aspect there to see if they can knock both of them down, or even one of them for that matter.
Of course, late in a game, that could prove to be the turning point, especially for one of these teams that they do have the lead late as well. Well, we'll let the UMass Boston starting lineup introduce themselves here on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
Alex Sanchez, redshirt sophomore, point guard, Salem, Massachusetts.
Charlie Mitchell, sophomore, point guard, Roxbury, Mass.
Dace Snelly, junior, guard from Roxbury, Massachusetts.
Michael Boyd, sophomore, shooting guard, Malden, Mass.
Malik Lurquette, freshman center, Sharon, Massachusetts.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network. You see there the UMass Boston starting lineup as the Beacons get ready for action here against the Wentworth Leopards. Well, now it's time that we toss it to the review and preview for the Wentworth game, and here's what head coach Jason Harris had to say here on today's program.
Joined by head coach Jason Harris, the UMass Boston men's basketball team, for our Beacons review preview. Coach, not the best game that you guys have played this season, but still a chance to go into break above 500 and to go in at 5-1 at home. What is tonight's game about for your team, and for a chance to really get off on a positive note heading into break?
Competing. I mean, I told the guys yesterday it's a two-week break, and you don't want to go into break, on a skid, and you fester and you let it sink in. And so it's important for us to move on and just play Wentworth today, and like I said, compete and play hard and challenge everything, and then focus on finals.
When you say compete, where does that start for this team in particular? Is it the offensive end, the defensive end, the rebounds? What do you need to see out of your team to end today's game, win or loss, with maybe a smile going into the break?
Competing for us, I think it's a mindset. It's just more of an approach. It's the things in between offense and defense, the loose balls, the things you really can't stat. Fighting for position, that sprinting back. Coming off the court when maybe you want to stay on the court, just competing. So that's what we need to see. We need to see, 12 guys or however many guys are going to play tonight, just compete. I'm not as worried about the mistakes. It's, just I want to see what type of fiber, what type of makeup we have. Obviously things haven't gone great the last couple games, but, it's a long season.
Looking at Wentworth tonight, they're a team that's really led by a very strong post player in Steven Azams, their team's leading scorer, rebounder, a double-double guy shooting over 50%. How do you try to slow him down to earn that win going into break?
I think we're going to have to compete. I think the forwards are going to have to compete. I think the guards are going to have good ball pressure. If we allow them to just sit back and throw lobs in, and he'll pick us apart. So we got to compete. No deep post touches. Have active hands. Don't let him split the double, and keep him off the glass. Those things like that, and contain the ball so he's not getting easy dish offs, and compete.
It's hard not to get emotional at a UMass graduation. It is amazing to see what UMass graduates accomplish once they leave the university. You see that UMass is here for the Commonwealth, here for a reason.
And welcome back here inside the Clark Athletic Center. Elijah Gonzalez alongside Gigi Braga, and for Wentworth and UMass Boston here playing during this busy time and the holiday season coming up for both of these teams, and they'll take a good lengthy break following this game. For Wentworth, they have played a couple of games recently, but they will have some time off following this one. And for UMass Boston, of course, they will have some time off as well through these next couple of weeks during the holiday season. But Gigi, you take a look at this matchup between these two teams. For UMass Boston, this is again a team that has forced a lot of turnovers. They've really played well defensively. And for Wentworth, this is a team that struggled to score the basketball. This has to play in the favor of the Beacons in that regard.
Yeah, and I think that we talk about, at least previous game when you talk to Charles and Charlie Mitchell and you talk about their full court press and how those guys are just so electric up top of the press. And that's something that, Coach Harris is gonna look at today, and he's gonna, got to be curious to see how much they're gonna full court press this Leopards team, and depending on what part of the game that we're at, if it's a close game, why not, throw that full court press in there. You know that they can't really protect the ball that well as they would like, at least. Try to force some turnovers here and there, but again, Coach Harris really looking for his team and for his boys to come out and just play a tough 40 minutes of basketball. You can't, we'll take a look at the keys to the game, and you can't really can't come out and play, a soft 20 minutes and then go hard for 40 minutes, especially against a team like this where they can make you pay for you not playing that tough.
And we take a look now at those keys to the game that you had mentioned before. And for UMass Boston, again, we talked about what A-Zooms can do offensively. And this is something that Coach Harris just continues to talk about the multiple times that we've gotten a chance to talk with him. High effort for all 40 minutes. This is a team that's played a lot of good halves, but he's kind of waiting for them to put a full game together. And then, as we mentioned, the turnovers for UMass Boston. But I think that second one, Gigi, kind of says it all for this team. Couple of good halves, but now Coach Harris is saying, all right, guys, let's put this whole thing together.
Well, you played Emmanuel College a couple days ago, and you only lost to them by 14. The Leopards lost to them by 19. Obviously, Emmanuel College, great shooting team, great team overall. But when they lost by 14 essentially because they didn't come out as hard as they could have. Plenty of talent on the team. It's not like, they were out shooting them, out rebounding. We were outworking them. And that's something that to Coach Harris is just unacceptable for his players, and that's not a culture that he wants to have on his team.
And for UMass Boston, they had 32 points in the paint in that one. They also forced 22 turnovers by Emmanuel. Of course, that's a team that likes to run and gun, and for UMass Boston, just unable to slow them down offensively. Michael Boyd in the starting lineup tonight for UMass Boston. He had 18 points during that last matchup against Emmanuel. So we are underway, and UMass Boston will win the tip. Dason Sinelli gives it off, and we are ready to go here in the Clark Athletic Center. Working with it is Charlie Mitchell. Over to Sanchez now. Right into the high post to Sinelli. Sinelli tries to go into A-Zooms, and he scores.
And that's a great there to see Dason Sinelli, a key starter last year for the Beacons. This year kind of playing a little bit of a second player role, getting a couple minutes here and there. But, when he can go off, he can provide so much depth for this Beacons roster.
They go quickly to A-Zooms. He's guarded by Lorquette, and Lorquette will pick up the foul. Of course, Lorquette, one of the talented players on this roster, down low for UMass Boston, the talented freshman that has had a solid year so far to this point, especially defensively, and talk about Javaris Hill, what he can do offensively, but Coach Harris has liked to put Lorquette on some of those better matchups down low so far this year to start for UMass Boston.
Yeah, I would agree, and statistically speaking, it seems like Lorquette is a better defensive player than Javaris Hill. Javaris has a little bit more of the edge on the offensive side.
That's a jumper that's good there from Alex Sanchez, and UMass Boston comes out hot. This is a team for Wentworth that gives up about 40% from beyond the arc, which is an incredible shooting percentage. But on top of that, for a couple of halves this year, Wentworth has given up teams that's shooting around 65% from the field. Of course, UMass Boston gave up over 50% from beyond the arc to Castleton here a few weeks ago, as that three was missed there by Keogh. Charlie Mitchell gives it off now, but that was a game that Coach Harris, probably one of the least pleased he's been after a half this year. Lorquette goes up, lost the basketball, but got it back. And now Sanchez. Right back to Lorquette. That might be offensive. It is. And how about that quickly? Coach Harris has to go to his bench. Here comes Mark Monroe after the second foul by Malik Lorquette.
Yeah, and that's something that you don't want to see there. He's working hard and just a little bit too much contact there, but you got to credit Zach Bergeron there on that play, just setting his feet perfectly, knowing that Malik Lorquette's going to try to use all of his 6'4" frame, try to get that ball in the basket.
And if you're Malik Lorquette, he's actually being talked to by one of the assistants right now. Got to be careful in that sort of situation. 3 on the way. That one is knocked down by Bergeron. So a good play on one end, and then comes back and knocks down the 3 to make this a 1-point game.
Yeah, and a thing that the Beacons have to work on as well is, not only limiting silly turnovers like that. Just a little miscommunication there on that end between Alex Sanchez and Charlie Mitchell. But again, the defending the three-point shots, and that's going to be huge here today when you got guys like Bergeron, Gio who can knock down these shots. Definitely something to keep an eye on.
That's something that Coach Harris has stressed, especially through these last few games. Of course, Emmanuel, as you talked about, a very talented team from beyond the arc. There's Azums that goes up and can't get it to fall. It got knocked out of bounds out of the hands of Monroe, but it was last touched by Christmas, so it'll go right back to UMass Boston.
Yeah, what a last name to have, huh? Never seen a Christmas before, but
it's especially good right around this time here, getting to the December 25th. Of course, both these teams will take that long-awaited break, get a chance to head home, study up for some exams. Long three, no good. That one pulled down by Bergeron. And now Wentworth started to attack quickly in the shot clock early, and that one a turnover. Here comes Sinelli the other way. Dayson pulls it back out and gives it off to Michael Boyd. Back to Sinelli. He'll try the three from the top of the key and knocks it home.
Yeah, Coach Harris has to be happy with what he's seeing from Dayson Sinelli. He's playing great defensively on one side of the court and, comes up and he's got, 5 easy points real quick here.
This is a very aggressive UMass Boston team early in this one. And that has to bode well for Coach Harris after he talked about that's what he wants to see from his team. Turnover here, and here comes Mitchell the other way. Charlie Mitchell towards the rim, lays it up and in.
I don't understand how that wasn't a foul there on him too. I mean, he went up pretty strong there. I got to credit him for that, but Ellis Christmas, I just don't know how the refs didn't see any contact there.
Great body control from Mitchell to somehow throw that one off the glass. Here's Christmas. He throws up a wild shot. And Monroe turns it over, trying to outlet the pass to Mitchell. And now both players on the floor, and it's taken away by Sanchez. Terrific defensive play. And UMass Boston going to slow it down. Charlie Mitchell looks to be shaken up, and now we'll get a whistle. And UMass Boston, I believe, just got Charlie Mitchell off the floor and in favor of his brother Charles to come in. That might just be a stinger over there for Charlie Mitchell. He hit the deck hard.
Yeah, and I mean, he was in that scramble there real quick, and it looked like an ankle, appears to be an ankle. But again, just the hustle play there from him, from Alex Sanchez, from Coach Harris's boys that aren't afraid to get on the ground and fight for that ball.
Michael Boyd back up top. Gives over to Sanchez, 10 on the shot clock, pulls up and hits. UMass Boston is red hot, and they've now got an 8-point lead.
And that 8-point lead really comes from the Leopards just not being able to protect the ball. I mean, they're losing potential points here by being really careless with the rock.
And Bryce, that one is fouled, or Bice, excuse me, was brought in. Now a timeout here going to be taken on the floor, but brought in very quickly at that point guard spot after the turnovers by Wentworth early. We'll take a break. UMass Boston in front by 8, red hot to start here on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network. Elijah Gonzalez, Gigi Braga alongside for all the action as UMass Boston leads it 11-3 here early to start. And for UMass Boston, shooting a whopping 83.3% from the floor to start. They are 5 of 6 from the floor early. And Gigi, it's been an impressive offensive display from UMass Boston to start and just look a lot more confident shooting the basketball.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly there. It's not that their guys are just, we saw it a couple days ago where they're dribbling recklessly and they're passing it off to each other. No one has any idea what play they're running, where they're going with the ball. It's kind of like, all right, you shoot it, I'll shoot it, who's going to shoot it? You're running the shot clock low, but today it's a 10-fold team. I mean, you got guys that know what they want to do when they get the ball, and they're looking for open players.
Well, given off, and they go quickly inside to Azums, guarded by Monroe and stripped away by Charles Mitchell. Good defensive play. Lots of help came That's the 4th turnover by Wentworth, and UMass Boston has contributed 7 of their 11 points off of turnovers. Long 3 from Boyd is no good, and we'll get a foul. That might have been a little bit too aggressive there for Charles Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, he's listed, I believe, at like 5'11", 5'10", but man, can that kid jump. Let me tell you, he was he's one of the Beacon's top rebounders last year. I mean, he's not afraid. He's a guard, but he's not afraid to play that post position defensively if he needs to.
And now we'll quickly see Javaris Hill enter for UMass Boston as he comes into the contest. Hill having a freshman season to remember. There was a little feature piece done on Javaris and talked about what his goals were for the year, and one of them being LAC Rookie of the Year, and well, he's well on his way right now. That one turned over as Boyd takes it away. Here come the Beacons the other way. Sanchez with the left hand and scores.
And man, what a key it is to have Alex Sanchez back for the Beacons for this season. Played a tremendous freshman year, one of the Beacons' best defenders, and had to be sidelined his sophomore year because of an injury. We'll hear him talk about that at halftime. But just having him back this year, he just creates a different dynamic for this team.
There he is again, putting in the bucket, and UMass Boston leads it by their largest lead at 12. They are 7 of 8 from the floor to start this game, and it's been an impressive stretch here, Gigi, for UMass Boston offensively. Alex Sanchez, the culprit there.
I mean, Coach Arlen Galloway's he's got to be telling his boy something right now. I mean, you've been playing for 5 minutes, and all you've done is score 3 points off of a three-pointer. I mean, something's got to change. And, it might be Azum's got to protect the ball a little bit better. I believe he has like 3 or 4 turnovers already in these first 5 minutes. But it just, the Leopards aren't moving. They're stagnant, they're stationary, and they're not going anywhere. And it's tough for one player, even 2, to go against 5 Beacons defenders who want to get the ball and they want to strip players of that ball to move into transition. So they gotta play a little bit smarter basketball.
And for UMass Boston, what's even more impressive, this is a team that out-rebounds a lot of teams, not only in conference, but outside of the conference as well. They haven't gotten an offensive rebound yet here in this game, and they're still shooting 78% from the floor. And on the flip side of that, Wentworth is shooting just 16.7% from the floor to start this game. Of course, those numbers more than likely will even out, but there's another turnover taken away there by Charles Mitchell. And he gives it off. Javaris Hill was undercut, no foul call. And Wentworth able to get it back. Some sloppy basketball through that last stretch and taken right back by Charles Mitchell.
Again, just being a little too careless with the ball.
To the corner to Boyd. UMass Boston, that's one thing they can do. They'll turn it over maybe a little bit more than Coach Harris will like, but they find a way to get the basketball back, and even on the same possession as you saw there. Inside, Monroe missed the easy one. And Wentworth comes away with the miss.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure Mark Monroe's going to want to get that ball back and try to really get that play, get that ball in the bucket.
Here's Bergeron, that one no good. Long and barely just skimmed the rim. As Sanchez quickly finds Charles Mitchell for 3. That one short off the front rim, but grabbed by Hill. He skies, can't get it to go. The tip no good by Monroe, and now Hill is fouled as he was heading towards the rim on the offensive glass. And there we see Javaris Hill and Mark Monroe putting their presence on the offensive glass.
And I mean, you take a look right now at the Beacons bench and their coaches, and Coach Harris was just yelling like, finish, finish, finish. I mean, you got, a couple of guys that are way over 6 feet, and they just can't seem to get that ball to find the hoop.
So Dayson Sinelli will check in, and Kevin Nunez will come in with him as well. So Monroe gets a needed rest along with Michael Boyd. And what's also of note is Monroe did a terrific job when Azums was in there, not really allowing him to get going. And well, he's actually sitting on the bench for Wentworth and has been for the last couple of possessions for the Leopards. And UMass Boston leading it big early. Bice trying to find a way around Charles Mitchell. That's not an easy thing to do. They go inside. Sinelli there. The post-up move, no good. And Sinelli grabs the miss, and here comes UMass Boston in transition. To the corner. Mitchell thought about the 3, and he walked with it.
That's a possession right there that, almost everything was executed perfectly, but that's a play that Charles Mitchell loves. He gets straight to that corner, and he mentioned it in the interview with him and his brother that You know, Charles the shooting guard, Charlie the point guard, and Charles automatically goes to that corner because that's a spot. That's where he likes it. And Alex Sanchez finding him there, but again, just being a little bit too careless with the ball.
Hensler to the rim and gets a much-needed bucket for the Leopards. That is one of their first buckets in a while. It's been since past the 16-minute mark that they've scored a bucket. And now Javaris Hill in the lane can't get it to go, but there's one of those offensive rebounds by Kevin Nunez. And UMass Boston will put the bucket in, and they'll also get a delay of game warning on Kevin Nunez after he touched that basketball and went through the hoop.
Oh, man, that's the second. I don't know if you were here, Elijah, for that game where Kevin Nunez had an incredible dunk. I believe it was in their season opener, and got called for a delay of game or something because he was just didn't want to injure a player.
Game against Bridgewater State.
Yep.
And a traveling violation on Wentworth. That was a game full of dunks. Bridgewater State with a couple on the offensive rebound. But UMass Boston really battled in that game. That was another one where Coach Harris is not happy with his team's first half performance, and in the second half found a way. They hand it off and get it over to Sinelli. Back up top, Charles Mitchell. Good ball movement here by UMass Boston. Kick out to the corner. Now they go inside, under 10 on the shot clock. Still swinging around the arc. Penetration, 3 on the shot clock. Mitchell to the rim, no good. Hill on the offensive rebound and scores on the reverse.
Yeah, that's an overall great possession there by the Beacons. And if you're the Leopards, you're playing 25 to 27 seconds of good defense there, and you're containing, you're playing in the zone. Beacons really trying to get a shot off. They're moving the ball really well. But again, you let Javaris Hill use his height to his advantage, get over you, and then make that shot. I mean, if you're the Leopards there, you got to be a little bit frustrated with yourselves.
Especially the solid defense that they did play. UMass Boston didn't really have a look until about 3 seconds left in the shot clock. And it was a wild shot by Charles Mitchell down the lane. Here's Charlie Mitchell into the high post. Nice pass inside from Hill, but nothing Sinelli can do with it, and he turns it over. Hill knocked that away, but we'll get a foul called on Javaris Hill. As Zach Bergeron was trying to take that one up the floor himself. That's been a problem for Wentworth, trying to find a way to get the ball past that half-court stripe, and now we'll have a timeout on the floor. UMass Boston and Wentworth, the Beacons up early here on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network. UMass Boston in front by a wide margin here early. Over top of the Wentworth Leopards, coming in with a record of 2-6 on the year. UMass Boston been a little bit more impressive to this point, 5-4, but the 1-3 in Little East Conference play. It's not been the start that head coach Jason Harris has wanted, but again, still a lot of basketball left to play in the Little East Conference. Very tough conference, up and down this year. It's been one that there's been a lot of solid games. Of course, Keene State, one of the more talented players in the conference, sits on that roster, as now UMass Boston will work quickly. Charlie Mitchell help run the show for UMass Boston. Go into the high post, and there's Hill. Now it's Nunez with it, back out Sinelli. He'll try a three. No good. And ripped down by Wentworth and brought the other way.
Yeah, but I like the aggressiveness there of Sinelli to taking that shot, and it's a blocking. That's a blocking call there on on Charlie Mitchell. But Sinelli, I mean, being aggressive, taking that shot, I mean, he's built up his confidence already here in this first half. I'm sure that Coach Harris is telling him, hey, man, keep playing the way that you're playing. You're playing great defense, getting your looks on the offensive end. Can't really blame him for taking that shot.
So Wentworth will inbound. They go inside. Now here's Azums. Long time since he's been on the floor and got a touch. And see what he can do offensively as he scores there on Javaris Hill. And again, remember, Malik Lorquette more than likely won't be back in this half. He's got 2 fouls to his credit, and they came with about 19 minutes still on the clock.
Yeah, that's a huge loss there for the Beacons, but when you look at the score right now, I mean, they scored 21 points without Malik Lorquette on the floor. So it's not necessarily that he's making, the biggest impact when he's not out there for him. I mean, his team is producing for him, so that's great to see if you're the Beacons. But, I mean, if you're Coach Harris, you want your guy out there. He played tremendous defense on Stephen Azums. Mark Monroe did as well. It's going to be interesting to see him checking back into the game here right now to put some work on Azums. But, come down the stretch, if the Leopards do have a chance to come back, you're going to want a Malik Lorquette that doesn't have, 3 or 4 fouls until late into the game.
And for UMass Boston, it also should be noted that they're now 1 foul away from the bonus, as that one is a travel on Alex Sanchez. So Wentworth will be shooting free throws the rest of the way here in this first half, as tried to go inside. That was kicked by Mark Monroe. Coach Harris was not happy that time with his team. They allowed Christmas to get in transition with about 3 white jerseys behind him. But the Beacons' offensive output early is what has been the story so far. That one no good from Wentworth, and offensive rebound grab there by Keogh. Keogh can shoot it from the outside. They go inside Azums, and he finishes.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you let a guy shoot the ball and then get his own rebound, I mean, something's got to be wrong there defensively. And that's you not blocking out your man, not being aggressive enough on the boards. And that ended up in a result of 2 points there for the Leopards.
Boyd kicks it back out. Sanchez goes inside, and Monroe with the finish.
Yeah, and, there was Mark Monroe's the leading field goal percentage shooter here for the Beacons. And it's because of that. He plays his position very well. He stays there low in the post. He's there to box out guys defensively, grab rebounds, grab boards. And offensively, he stays down low in the post. Quick little pass there to him, and all you got to do, he doesn't even have to jump that high. I mean, you're standing at 6'6", 6'5". You're not that far from the rim.
That one a jump ball as Michael Boyd reached his hand in there. That was a very aggressive play and could have been the 7th team foul on the Beacons, but instead, UMass Boston forces a jump ball, and right now Alex Sanchez just tying his shoe. The finer things in life. As Wentworth will inbound it from the baseline. Marabello gets it in, and Wentworth has looked a lot more established offensively with Azums on the floor. Now he's trying to work towards the left block, and he missed that one. That one just rattled out, and Monroe is fouled. Terrific defense, though, by Mark Monroe, but that's one that Azums probably wants back.
Yeah, and I mean, for a guy that he's used to going off, for double-digit points, getting double-doubles here and there, for him only having, I believe, he's got 4, 6 points at most. For the Leopards here tonight, I mean, you're already 12 minutes into this game. You know that he wants to unleash a little bit.
Azums 2 for 4 from the floor to start for Wentworth. Inside Hill. Goes into Azums and scores.
And that's the thing about Javaris Hill is he's so strong and he knows how to use his body and his size to his advantage, as you saw there on that play.
Wentworth now, again, they have tried to go inside, and when they haven't been able to find Azums, they've done that. Turn the basketball over. Hill the other way. He turns it over. Sloppy play, and now a foul. It's going to be called on either Javaris Hill or Sanchez. Can't tell right away, but it does look like it's going to go on Hill. If that is on Hill, that is his 2nd personal, and then once again, Wentworth will be shooting free throws. UMass Boston in front, 25-9, here on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
UMass Boston in front here in this battle inside the Clark Athletic Center. Elijah Gonzalez, Gigi Braga alongside for Wentworth. They will be shooting free throws the rest of the way here in this first half. So every foul from here on out by the Beacons will include the team in the black jerseys to head to the foul stripe.
Yeah, and I mean, you got a whole nearly 8 minutes left into this first half, and that's a lot of basketball left to play, and you got to start being a little bit more careful. And yeah, Wentworth's not the greatest of free throw shooting teams, but when you give them the opportunity, I mean, I'm sure that Coach Galloway's been telling them, like, hey, we really got to focus in and got to hit these free throws if you want your chance to get back into this 15-point lead that the Beacons have.
Hensler's second free throw is no good, but an offensive rebound. Kicks it back out. Hensler will try a three, and that one he knocks it down. So essentially a 4-point swing there for Wentworth on the offensive rebound.
Yeah, and because of a foul that, Tavares Hill just a little bit too fast in transition there, loses the ball and is just too aggressive and just a little bit careless with the ball there. And he sits down again with 2 fouls on him, just like Malik Larquette.
Boyd turns it over. Taken away, and Wentworth the other way. Bergeron inside. Hensler again. That one he can't get to fall. Rebound grabbed by Sinelli. And for UMass Boston, it's been a little bit of a dry spell here through this portion of the first half. After coming out red hot, looking like a very confident shooting team. It's slowed down as Charlie Mitchell tries to go inside and turns it over, taken away by Azums.
And those are back-to-back possessions there that the Beacons have turned the ball over because they're being a little bit too careless with their passing.
Azums double teamed inside. Sanchez there with the help, and he knocks it away. Here comes Alex Sanchez the other way. Sanchez floats and scores.
And man, let me tell you, when the tallest guy in the court and Steven Azums has the ball in his hand, he's holding it above his head, and the smallest guy in the court and Alex Sanchez is defending him and gets a steal and a floater. I mean, that's got to be a confidence booster there for Alex Sanchez.
What a spark Sanchez has been. 10 points for UMass Boston here already in this game. He's 5 for 6 from the floor. Granted, his shots have been very high percentage. Hensler a three, and he got it.
Yeah, but again, if the Beacons keep giving up these turnovers and converting on, a couple of plays here and there, but the Leopards coming out of this timeout just on fire. You get that 4-point play, and now Hensler knocking down threes. It's an open game right now.
Dayson Sinelli with another bucket. He's now 3 for 4 to start this game for UMass Boston. So a couple of guys with very high percentage shots, and it showed on the score sheet for the Beacons. Here's a three-pointer on the way, and that one is good. Marabello knocks it down. A timeout called by head coach Jason Harris, and probably a much-needed one with Wentworth starting to heat up from beyond the arc.
Oh, yeah, I'm not surprised that Coach Harris just called that timeout. I mean, those are 3 back-to-back possessions that the Leopards have scored on. They're all been 3-pointers. I mean, you come out of a timeout and you're scoring 9 points. I believe it was, 10 points back-to-back-to-back. I mean, if you're a coach, you got to be happy with your team's performance and what they're doing. But at the same time, if you're the Beacons, you got to realize that at some point that, their game plan into getting back into this game is, screw the 2-point shot. Let's go for 3. Go big or go home.
And for Wentworth right now, they are shooting now 50% from beyond the arc, and this would be if it ends up standing by the end of this first half. Obviously, still a lot of basketball left to play. This would be the second time here inside the Clark Athletic Center that UMass Boston has given up three-pointers in a percentage above 50%. Of course, Castleton shot 54.5 at the end of that first half in a win, and the only win for UMass Boston in Little East Conference play. As Sinelli now works with it. Gives it off Sanchez. High post Lorquette back out on the floor with 2 fouls. To the corner, Sanchez tries a 3. That's his second miss. And Sinelli tries to put it back up. He can't get it to fall. And here is the 3rd foul on Malik Lorquette. So that is a dagger for UMass Boston.
I mean, that's one of those things that you're Malik Lorquette. You're standing at 6'4". You see him come off the court again. You were on the court for 30 seconds at most. But again, you know, you're 6'4". You're a big guy. And, you know, sometimes that can harm you a little bit when you go up for that rebound. You're such a long player that you extending your hand trying to get that ball, you're going completely over a guy's shoulder.
First free throw is up and good for Wentworth, and talked about how important that would be, especially the amount of free throws that they're going to shoot here down the stretch, and they're just shooting 50%. They've attempted 8 of them so far, and that one is no good.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're at the free throw line, it's, you know, it's free money, it's free points. You know, no one's there pressuring you. You don't have anyone on you. It's mental.
Back up top, Charlie Mitchell. High post. Good ball movement once again by the Beacons. Inside, and a terrific pass from Sinelli to Hill.
Yeah, and those are just, you know, 2 bigs working really well together, and the ball movement, as you said, Elijah, just pristine here for the Beacons.
Kicked out by Bergeron. Hensler thought about the 3 and traveled with it.
Yeah, I mean, that one's pretty obvious there. Saw that one from a country mile away.
Might have been thinking a little bit too much about the pump fake. He was open from the top of the key, but took that extra step as Charlie Mitchell heads off. And coming on is Kevin Nunez. As he comes back in the game. Haven't seen a ton of Nunez here tonight, but he's made positive impacts when he's been in there. Sanchez off the screen. Wentworth switching into a man-to-man look. A little bit different than that zone, as that one is grabbed on the miss there from Nunez on the turnaround. UMass Boston leads by 11. They've led by larger than that here in this game, knocked away from Hensler, but it'll stay with the Leopards. UMass Boston jumped down to a 25-9 lead.
And they've scored 6 points in what, 5 minutes? 6 minutes?
It's been a tough stretch for the Beacons. Bice down the lane, and it's going to be a blocking foul on Michael Boyd, and I think that one might be due to the fact that he might have been inside that little half circle and inside the arc, and Bice will go to the line.
Yep, and there you have it. You see Coach Harris there. He's not too happy with that call or with the way that his players have been playing. And you got 9 fouls already. That's huge. And, you know, you got a couple of guys with 2, Javaris Hill with 2 fouls, Malik Lorquette with 5. I mean, sorry, not 5, with 3. But, you know, those 2 of your big guys right there just getting a little bit into foul trouble, and that's sparking the Leopards' offense to know that they can get back into this game via the charity stripe.
It's now single digits, and with 4:12 to go, UMass Boston is now 1 foul away from letting Wentworth shoot the double bonus the rest of the way in this half. Of course, the women's game switched to quarters, and so their only solution to the foul situation is the double bonus. Here in the men's game, though, still the 1-and-1, which has always been an interesting topic and one that's been continued to be brought up through the last couple of years. Maybe changing to quarters instead of halves, but it's stayed with the 1-and-1 so far, and that can be a game changer, especially late. It's Wentworth now with a chance here to cut into this UMass Boston lead. Kicked out to Christmas. He gives it off. Hensler tries a fadeaway 3. It's no good. Good offensive rebound, though, by Wentworth. They go inside again. Hill defending there. Floated up and in.
That's a great play there by Matt Bartavian. Just, you know, he didn't get one angle there on Javaris Hill because he was playing great defense on him. But that quick little spin around move and a little bit of a fadeaway floater there, and that's great persistency by him.
That's the first field goal for Vartanian in this game. Here's Hill skying to the rim on the miss, and he puts it in.
And he's one of those players that loves that that little shot there. Getting the rebounds, and, you know, the misses of his teammates, and just being able to put that little, it's like a little gift on top of the under the tree right there. You're just placing it right in there.
At the top of the arc for Bergeron. Vartanian inside, had it knocked away by Boyd. Great help side defense once again, and Sinelli almost turned it over, but here comes Hill down the lane. Euro step, blocking foul, and the bucket for Javaris Hill.
Woo! Talk about a guy who's, he's excited that he got that call. And I mean, if you're watching the game on the Beacons Broadcasting Network against Emmanuel College, you saw Javaris Hill pretty much run the exact same play, the little Euro step, and he got called for a charge against Emmanuel College. Completely different here.
So UMass Boston back up by double digits. We'll step aside here on the Beacon Broadcast Network. 35-24, Beacons in front.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network. Javaris Hill going to the line for one free throw after yet an and one prior to our break. Hill's free throw, and I believe we had a lane violation on UMass Boston, so that will not count. Javaris Hill will be subbed out for Mark Monroe, who will come in. Hill has had some offensive production here in this game for the Beacons as well. But so far, Alex Sanchez has been the spark to this point. 10 points, Hill with 12 to his credit. Those two guys have led the way for the Beacons. Hensler brings it back out, 10 on the shot clock. Almost lost the basketball. Good D by Charles Mitchell there. Hensler couldn't get it to go. Vartanian on the offensive rebound. Puts it back. He can't get that one to fall. Taken away by Alex Sanchez. Quick hands there from number one in white. He gives it off to Charles Mitchell. Now Boyd with it. Crossover, three, no good. Grabbed by Hensler. Michael Boyd, a terrific job to create some space there.
Yeah, well, when you're talking about the LAC, the reigning LAC Rookie of the Year, nothing. No, you can't put it past him to be, a little flashy with that shot. You would have hoped that three-pointer had gone in, but, nevertheless, Michael Boyd's not going to be afraid to dribble in and try to throw a couple quick moves on you.
Joseph Hecker, who was the one that got shook there by Michael Boyd, responds to the bucket of his own, and it's back to a 9-point game. Sanchez off the screen from Nunez towards the rim, lays it in with the right hand. Terrific finish there by Alex Sanchez.
Yeah, and he's having a game for himself here today. He's playing tremendous defense, which is something that we know that he can play. Coach Harris 2 seasons ago, really put him out there on the floor for his spectacular defense. But he's proving here that in his, redshirt sophomore season that he's more than just a defensive player. He can get a couple buckets for your team if you need him to.
And a foul is going to be called here on Monroe. And that's his second personal. So how about this for the big men for UMass Boston? 2 fouls on Mark Monroe, 2 on Javaris Hill, and 3 on Malik Lorquette. So combined between those 3 players, if my math is correct, that would be 7 fouls.
Your math is correct, yes.
Excellent. I was not a math major in college. That free throw is up and good from Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty outstanding and not in a great way. And I'm sure that Coach Harris is going to have a couple of words for that come halftime, and he's going to tell his boys that he needs to be a little bit more, careful. And it really just comes down to you not making these, silly fouls, losing the ball and getting that reach-in call like here and there. And some of them could be, a judgment call by the referees. They're not perfect either, but still, got to be a little careful.
And on the flip side for Wentworth, they have to have a positive that they were able to keep Steven Azooms on the bench for a good chunk of this first half and still trailing by just 9 as Michael Boyd has it at the top of the arc. 10 on the shot clock. and he's able to put it in with the runner. Timeout's going to be taken here. It'll be a 30-second timeout for Coach Galloway for Wentworth, but talked about former LEC Rookie of the Year Michael Boyd. That's just the tough sort of shot he was making all last year.
Yeah, and he's one of those players that coming in as a freshman, he never really played as a true freshman. You know, he got a couple of games under your belt, and you know, you got to play like a big guy. And I mean, Coach Harris will tell you himself that last year he had a couple of freshmen on his team that he needed to play like upperclassmen come halfway through the season, and especially when you're playing, you know, LEC games. And the same goes for this year. And you know, you got one senior on your team in Robert Nascimento, and he's more of a big locker room guy. So on the court, I mean, your sophomores and juniors really got to step up, and they got to start playing like big guys. You know, they got to take that leadership role, and that's exactly what Mike Boyd is doing. You know, he's leading his team. He's their point guard, and that's what he's doing.
27 games last year for Boyd. 25 of those were starts. Ended up as second team all-conference as well. Bice gave a little shove to Charlie Mitchell, nothing called. Hensler now with it. Expecting the Leopards here to hold for one shot. That's what they're going to do with 10 on the game clock. Hensler, guarded by Sanchez. Step back three. Short off the front rim. Grabbed by Charlie Mitchell. He'll try and heave it, but it was blocked, and that will end the first half of action. So, Gigi, quick thoughts. UMass Boston jumps out early, but Wentworth able to claw their way back in this thing. We're able to use the fouls by UMass Boston to help.
Yeah, I mean, UMass Boston only up by 11 here at halftime, and I'm sure that if they had played consistently those 20 minutes like they did the first 5 minutes of that game, that this would have been a completely different score. It would have been a little bit more of a blowout score. But, you know, you got to credit the Leopards for staying into this game, and, you know, Azum's playing well, and the rest of his team is playing well. I mean, they're hitting their three-point shots like it's nothing. So, you know, your team's got to be happy about that. And, you know, I guess we'll hear what Coach Harris has to say in a little bit.
So UMass Boston in front by 11. We'll step aside when we come back. We'll talk with head coach Jason Harris and have more on the halftime break here on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network here at the halftime break. UMass Boston, they lead it by 11. I'm now joined by head coach Jason Harris. And Coach, let's start with the hot start for your team out of the gates. What did you like out of your team to start this game?
Just thought we competed.
And Coach, you look at for this the rest of that half, what allowed Wentworth to be able to claw their way back into this game?
I mean, we've been focusing so much on competing that sometimes you're going to have some mental mistakes. You're right, man. Like, if we clean that up, it's a 20-point game right now, a little bit of some mental mistakes. But I'm just happy with how we're playing, you know, how we're challenging, how we're competing. So I'll live with the mistakes. 11 turnovers or 10 turnovers is too much against the zone. But again, we got to compete.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you very much, and best of luck in the second half here against Wentworth. All right, head coach Jason Harris for UMass Boston. The Beacons lead it by 11. We'll step aside here on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
UMass Boston was my first choice because when I came to the campus, I saw that there was a lot of diversity. There's a lot of people. Here there's a lot of international students, so it's really cool to meet people from different countries, different parts of the world. I'm Julia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
I'm Olivia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
We're sisters.
We're sisters.
I play volleyball and she plays basketball. Here they have a freshman success community. So each major has their own community that you can join as a freshman, and you take classes with them, you do study groups with them. So it was really helpful getting to know people in your major right away.
So in health exercise sciences, we have an internship at the end, so it's so much better to have like an advisor helping you out, like telling you which classes to choose.
Around the beginning of September of 2017, I was playing basketball pickup, and I tore my meniscus, and I had surgery October 16th. And when it happened, I was pretty upset because I knew I was going to take the whole year off because I couldn't even bend my leg, so it was tough knowing that I had to take the whole year off because I knew I'd be off beat coming back and I wouldn't have any rhythm, but it's been all right so far. That was the first time ever. I've never even sprained my ankle or anything, and then I just tore my meniscus. Never broke a finger or nothing. Well, at first, I knew it was going to be tough with school, because basketball really motivates me to do schoolwork. So I knew it was going to be a tough semester school-wise, but I focused, and it was good. And it was tough watching them, because we lost some games that I feel like we would have won if I was here. And, I feel like I'm a good leader, so I would have helped them a lot in practice and off the court. It took me a little while to start doing basketball activities. I got the surgery in October 16th. And around February, beginning of March, I started being me again. I used my first step, my quickness, but it was still kind of hard to jump. It's been kind of tough coming back in. I've been kind of off rhythm. I'm starting to get it back a little bit. And they're great guards, so they push me at practice every day. And it's been easier to come back and get on beat with them pushing me every day. So yeah, definitely. I feel like last game actually, I've been kind of off. In last game, I feel like towards the beginning, I started doing some stuff that I haven't done in a long time. I hit a floater, so I haven't shot a floater in I don't know how long, so it was nice.
People at UMass Boston, they're here because they know they can have an impact, not just on research, but on people, on their students.
This is just a starting point. It only has potential to grow, and it has a big potential to grow up.
You're really having a direct impact on people's lives, and you can see that now, and you can see that years from now.
So I think it's becoming like the place that people want to go. What UMass Boston is able to offer to its young people, it certainly stands out to that mission that was set right out in the beginning. It's something UMass Boston should be and can be very proud about.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network. Elijah Gonzalez, Gigi Braga alongside me, and just heard from Alex Sanchez and what he went through, obviously, with that injury that kept him out all last season, and how fitting that he's having one heck of a game tonight for the UMass Boston Beacons.
Yeah, and I mean, he mentioned it himself in that interview, talking about hitting that floater shot, and that's something that he never did freshman year. And again, you mentioned it during the game that freshman year, him and Ty Lee were such great defensive players, and they played essentially the roles that the Mitchell twins were playing. Big defensive guys. They were in there to run the court. I mean, Alex Sanchez is one of the fastest guys, if not the fastest guy on this court right now for the Beacons, and mostly in any game against any team that they're playing. And having him as that offensive threat has just changed the dynamic for Coach Harris, and just getting him back as a guard overall. I mean, not only do you have to put that much pressure on Michael Boyd and Charlie and Charles Mitchell for having to play a bunch of minutes because you can't get much rest because you have no one else on the bench. I mean, you can look now and you see Alex Sanchez there, and you know that he can give you 1 or 2 minutes here, or essentially he can give you 10-15 minutes if you need him to as well.
Well, he's been giving them a lot here tonight. He's already in double figures point total wise. We take a look at the stats, and for UMass Boston, it was a red hot start, and as it normally does, the stats kind of even out towards the end of the half when you have a team that comes out so hot and a team in Wentworth that came out very cold. But still, for UMass Boston, 55% from the field. But for Coach Harris, he talked about, against that zone, too many turnovers for his bunch.
Yeah, I mean, you got 10 turnovers and 5 assists. I mean, on the flip side, you see the Leopards 11-5, not much better. I mean, the rebounding margin is something that surprises me. UMass Boston, without, Malik Lorquette sitting for most of that first half with his 3 fouls, you're still able to get 20 rebounds. That's pretty impressive there, and limit the Leopards to only having 10. But you take a look, I mean, they're shooting 40% from the three-point line, and that's compared to the 14% that the Beacons are shooting. I mean, that's huge. That is absolutely huge. And, I mean, free throw 100, I mean, your Beacons only went to the line, 4 times at most, if that. But, again, shooting 55%, from the field is something that they got to be proud about. You know, you got 39 points in this half. I mean, that's something that, you know, you're leading by 11. Coach Harris has to be a little bit happy about his team in that aspect.
And Wentworth well above their season average from the foul stripe. They went to the line a bunch of times as UMass Boston was in the double bonus for the majority, you could say, of that first half for the Beacons. And we talked about guys for UMass Boston that have stepped up, and also for Wentworth as we take a look at the team leaders for both of these teams. And Alex Sanchez, the numbers that he put up in that first half, but how about Javaris Hill off the bench? We talked about him at the top as a guy that could possibly come out and play well offensively in this game, and that's what Coach Harris has liked out of him offensively. And then Dason Sinelli also contributing on the offensive end as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that Sinelli leading the team right now in rebounds with 5 is something huge for him, and that's a statistic that he has to be really happy about. I mean, he's not one of the guys that are going to come in and they're going to drop, 20, 25 points a game, and he's not going to be the one racking up all the assists. He's not your double-double guy. He's that guy that can come in and give you, a solid 5-10 minutes here and there, and he's a role player for the Beacons. He's not someone that you're going to see on the stat sheets every single day. You're going to see him every now and then like you see him today, but he's having a tremendous game. He's got, 5 or 6 points already in this game, and he's leading the team with rebounds. He's really in the zone, and he's playing confidently, and I think that that's a huge thing, is the confidence that Dason Sinelli has had in this game here tonight.
And to note, Steven Azums, he was sitting on the bench for a good chunk of that first half. He just totaled 4 points for Wentworth in that first half, a lot of it having to deal with the guard play by UMass Boston playing so well they couldn't really keep Azums in there with the matchups that they had on the floor. We take a look now at some of the highlights from that first half, Gigi, and really for UMass Boston, just a lot of positives to start this game. Wentworth able to kind of claw their way back in with a couple of threes, as we'll see here. But for UMass Boston overall, really a first half that they shot the ball extremely well to start.
Absolutely. I mean, you saw that three-pointer there by Wentworth. And again, Dason Sinelli getting into it, hitting that three-pointer really brought his confidence up a little bit. And the steals. I think the steals for UMass Boston early on in this game is what really, kept their momentum moving. And you see Charlie Mitchell there, just that great play that I don't know how that wasn't an and one, but, we'll take it. But again, Michael Boyd with the steal, and those points in transition for the Beacons have, crazy and incredible, and that's really what sparked their team up and kept their momentum going. And then you see Javaris Hill just, using his body, and Kevin Nunez being there to, help him out and get a couple of those points there. And then you talk about Alex Sanchez's defense and, him able to score, get a steal, and then score in transition. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, that's got to hype you up.
And you talked about that floater that Alex Sanchez kind of put into his game. He was able to do that a few different times, but again, we saw Wentworth, they started to heat up from beyond the arc.
Yeah, and when you come out of a timeout and you're scoring 9-10 points immediately out of a timeout in 2 or 3 possessions, that's incredible and that's crazy. And that's a great job there by the Leopards and by Coach Galloway to, tell his team and pretty much explain to them, like, hey, this is what we got to do, and we got to claw our way back into this game. And that's exactly what they've done. I mean, if the Beacons had played the entire 20 minutes of that first half the way that they played those first 5 minutes, this would be a 20, even possibly a 25, 30-point game we're talking.
Let's take a quick look around the Little East Conference of what's going on here tonight. Again, most teams will take a break. There are a few tournaments going on over the Christmas holidays, so some of those teams will play in those tournaments. But again, here's what is going to go down around the Little East Conference on Saturday. Western Connecticut State, they'll be at Keystone and Castleton. They'll be at St. Joseph's in Connecticut, so that those two teams will be in action. But again, no games in the Little East Conference here tonight, just UMass Boston, who leads 39-28 here at the halftime break. We take a look around Beaconville. As UMass Boston, again, not the only team in action. The hockey teams are on their break, but on Thursday, saw the women's basketball team. They got their win over Johnson and Wales, and just more impressive performances by them. And it's time now that we take a look at some of the highlights from that matchup against Johnson and Wales, a 71-59 win for UMass Boston.
What you wanna do, baby? Where you wanna go? I'll take you to the moon, baby. I'll take you to the club. I treat you like a real lady, no matter where you go. Just give me some time, baby, 'cause you know, even when we're apart, I know my heart is still there with you. 5 more hours, that the night is getting started. How you wanna feel, baby? What you wanna know? Just pour another drink, baby. Come on, pour a little more. I treat you like a real lady. I keep you out the cold. I give you all my time, baby. You know, even when we're apart, I know my heart is still big with you. 5 more hours till the night is ours, and I'm back with you. This is, yeah, this right here is my type of party. Yeah, 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 yeah. 5 more hours, we're just getting started. This right here is my type of party. Oh, this is my type of party. 5 more hours, we're just getting started. 5 more hours, we're just getting started.
Back here inside the Clark Athletic Center, UMass Boston will have the basketball to start the second half. The Beacons in front by 11. Elijah Gonzalez, Gigi Braga alongside. As Michael Boyd gets it back to the top of the arc. Now he gets the basketball quickly right back. And Wentworth starting out in a man-to-man. They were in zone the majority of that first half. And Malik Lorquette back on the floor as he goes up and unable to get the roll. But he'll go to the foul line, and that one's going to go on Azooms. And once again, Gigi, we talked about Azooms spent some time on the bench in that first half, and definitely a matchup thing for Wentworth. They haven't really been able to find a matchup that Azooms has been able to contain.
I think they actually they gave the foul there to number 32. I think it was Zach Bergeron rather than Azooms there. But you mentioned it. He spent a couple of minutes on the bench, not really producing the way that Coach Galloway wanted him to. So why not give another player an opportunity? But again, just seeing Malik Lorquette out on the floor right now for the Beacons is something that they got to be a little happy about. But I'm sure that Coach Harris has told them, like, hey, man, you got 3 on you already, and we got a whole another 20 minutes to play. So really got to watch himself, because if he gets 4, I would assume anywhere under, over 10 minutes left of this game, he's probably going to spend most of that time on the bench.
And Coach Harris couldn't be happy with what he just saw from Lorquette at the line. 2 misses. And UMass Boston can't extend their lead, and you heard that famed word from Coach Harris at the halftime break, and he said they competed. That's all he needed to say. Very solid start to this game for UMass Boston. There's Azooms inside, missed the bunny, and it's taken away from him by Charlie Mitchell. Mitchell quickly the other way, and he'll slow it down, seeing that he didn't have numbers and any of his teammates down on the other end of the floor.
Yeah, well, when you get Azooms and Malik Lorquette tripping over one another there, when you got long limbs, I guess it's not that difficult for you to follow. But at the same time, smart move there by Charlie Mitchell.
And there's the 4th foul on Malik Lorquette. Offensive foul as he set the screen, and Jason Harris just throws his hands up as to say, I don't know. Lorquette will head to the bench. Mark Monroe quickly checks in. And it has to be deja vu for Malik Lorquette after he came out about under 2 minutes into the first half. Turnover there. Sanchez, left side, lays it in. Alex Sanchez now with 14 points for UMass Boston.
Yeah, and going back there to Malik Lorquette, though, you saw him immediately after that play, puts his hands up and just asking how and why, and why it happened in general. And there's nothing Coach Harris can say to that. He's being a coach, and his job is to win games. And you got to be smart there, and you got to put Mark Monroe into that game.
Inside, Azooms scores from the left side.
Yeah, Charlie Mitchell there trying to play some defense on him, but Azooms again just using the side to his advantage there. Quick little fake and easy layup.
Charlie Mitchell pull-up jumper, he hits.
We don't see Charlie shooting the ball that often. He usually lets his brother Charles do most of the shooting there, and he does most of the dribbling. But again, he's one of those players that he can get a solid 6 or 8 points here and there when you need him to.
Well, he's 100% on the night. He's 2 for 2 with 4 points to this point in the game. UMass Boston in front by 13. Monroe got hit in the face there, stopped for a minute. Azooms goes in to score, and I think Azooms also got knocked in the face. They kind of collided, and that allowed Azums to get to the rim.
Yeah, and I mean, we heard it from up here. We heard Coach Harris just a little scream there to the referees as to how they didn't call that. I mean, and there you go. And then you get Mark Monroe with the retaliation there. I don't think that might have been a little intentional there. As just a little note to him saying, hey, you can't elbow me in the face and not expect any repercussions there. So the referees might want to have a conversation there to make sure that they're staying clean, playing some clean basketball here. But I can't really blame Coach Harris for being upset with the referees and talking about it. I mean, that was a clear foul there on Steven Azums that I don't know how it didn't call. I mean, Monroe kind of tilted it back a little bit as to say, like, hey, man, I got hit.
And Azums did the same thing on the other end, and that was what Coach Harris wasn't happy about, that they gave the call to Wentworth there. And this time Charlie Mitchell chasing it down, but runs into his own guys on the bench. And it will stay with the Leopards, but that full court press, and talk about what UMass Boston can maybe do to try and turn things around in conference play. And one of those could be forcing turnovers, especially in that full court press. It's been dynamic so far this year. You've got guards like Alex Sanchez, Charlie Mitchell. They go inside Azums, and he's going to score again. He turned around to head back before that ball even went in through the hoop.
Yeah, and I mean, he's kind of making Mark Monroe really work there. And, you know, it's tough for Mark to keep up with him. I mean, you got to keep shuffling his feet. I mean, Azums does have an enormous amount of athletic abilities.
Alex Sanchez with the offhand puts it in again. And Sanchez leading the team with 16. UMass Boston back up by 11. Azums has 4 here in this half after a very quiet first half. Given off now, Keogh back up top to Bergeron. He puts it on the deck. Going to Christmas, great feed inside, and there's Azums again. He's now in double figures with 10.
Yeah, Coach Harris just putting his face in his hands there, because you see what the Leopards are running here is that they're putting Azums on the baseline. He's kind of sectioning Mark Monroe off to himself, you know, isolating himself a little bit. And Christmas again just flashing in, you know, getting that ball and just a quick little dish off to Azums and just letting him do, you know, the dirty work.
Dayson Sinelli there with the bucket for UMass Boston. Talk about a guy who doesn't normally contribute a ton of points offensively, and that's going to be an offensive foul. And it's going to go on Kyle Hensler as he's going to pick up the foul. That'll be his first personal, and that is going to take us to a media timeout. So UMass Boston clinging to that 11-point lead. We'll step aside on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris. The subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network. Elijah Gonzalez, Gigi Braga to my left. UMass Boston in front by 11. And they have led the majority of the way in this game. The last time Wentworth led was with 8:25 to go in the first half. That was the only time that they had claimed the lead, and it was short-lived. Sanchez hands it off to Charlie Mitchell. Mitchell off the screen, and little weave action as they give it to Boyd. Boyd trying to go through the left side there, but knocked off by Christmas off his path. Inside Javaris Hill, and fell down, and now a blocking foul is called on Bergeron. So Bergeron falls down. Javaris Hill trips over him, and I'm not sure that's the right call that it's a block, but it is a trip, as Hill just kind of tripped over top. I thought they were going to let it go.
I think that's what what Zach Bergeron's arguing. Is how is that a blocking call if it was a good 3 seconds? He was on the ground for about 3 seconds before they even made that call. If anything, it's a trip. And, credit to Javaris Hill for maybe selling it a little bit. Obviously tripping over in his lane. But, really throwing the ball up is to kind of say, hey, I want this to be a shooting foul, But again, I don't see in Coach Galloway right now just arguing with the referees a little bit there to try to get an explanation as to what that call was.
The Kenyon College native just trying to, like you said, get an explanation about what the call is. And like you said, credit Javaris Hill. That was a heads-up play to not only, as you're falling to the ground, throw that basketball up there, but make it look as if you're shooting the ball. I don't think he was planning on shooting at that moment in time. Hill's second free throw is no good. Charlie Mitchell grabs the miss, and he goes down immediately, and he is still down on the ground. Going towards the rim is Hensler, and now we will have an injury timeout as Charlie Mitchell, he was rolled up on. And so...
And we'll try to get you a replay of that. I don't know, they're probably going to stop play here and try to figure out Charlie Mitchell's situation, but try to get you a replay as to how that play unfolded.
And Charlie Mitchell in some pain on the ground, and this will give essentially Coach Harris and Coach Galloway a timeout. Charlie Mitchell, though, fortunately walking off the floor.
And we'll take a look right now and see exactly what happened. We can get it in slow-mo.
He gets rolled up on there by Christmas.
Yeah, and we'll try to get that one more time if we can, just to really, really see what happens. And
then on the other end, Hensler, that was not called a foul. That was just called out of bounds. But this will, in turn, be Wentworth basketball as Bergeron gets it back up top to Bice. Inside, and there's Azooms again to score. Azooms with another bucket. That's now 8 in the second half for Steven Azooms. And he is 6 of 10 from the floor now in this contest. Although he's grabbed just 1 rebound. Dayson Sinelli towards the rim. He can't score. And it's taken by Bergeron. Here comes Christmas up the floor quickly.
Yeah,
Kicks it out. Bice a 3. Front rim rattles and no good. And now we'll get a foul. And it's on Mark Monroe. So if the foul trouble wasn't enough, it's another foul for UMass Boston. And it goes on another big man, this time on Mark Monroe.
And just going back to what you mentioned about Steven Azooms and recording 8 points, I mean, Coach Galloway doesn't really need him to be the leader in every single category today. Essentially, the points are what matters the most. But again, the fouls on the Beacons bigs. And, I mean, you got 4 on Malik Lorquette, and who was he guarding? Steven Azooms. Now you got 3 on Monroe, who's guarding Azooms. I mean, if these guys keep getting in trouble, I mean, you got a veteran player in Azooms who knows that, hey, you got 3 fouls on him. Keep feeding him. Keep going strong into the paint.
And now we have an offensive foul on Bice. And Alex Sanchez there to take the charge. He has done it in every facet of the game tonight for UMass Boston. Bice can't believe it. And I think mostly what Galloway immediately pointed right to that arc underneath the basket. Of course, you're not allowed to have any part of your foot inside of that arc, and he immediately pointed as to say he thought Sanchez's foot was in there, but tough to tell from our vantage point up top if that was the case. And that's the 3rd foul on Bice. But they keep him in there. 4 team fouls, pretty even here in the second half after a lopsided first half of fouls. That one no good from Michael Boyd. But a turnover by Bergeron, and now Javaris Hill dribbles it off his foot. Lorquette gives it to Michael Boyd. Boy, they thought it was over and back, but I think that basketball stayed on the backside of the half-court line.
Yeah, I don't think Lorquette's feet necessarily crossed completely over to the half-court line.
And there's a finish by Javaris Hill. Another bucket for Hill. UMass Boston, the first team to 50, and Hill's now got 15 on the game. Bergeron gives it over. Hensler, now they're trying to go inside. Good seal by Azooms. He scores, and the bucket, and that might be number 5 on Malik Lorquette. We'll see. Basket is good, and they are going to get the foul on Alex Sanchez. So fortunate for UMass Boston. Sanchez kind of swiped at it, but they were very fortunate that they did not get the body on Malik Lorquette. You could have went two different directions with that. And now checking in is Joseph Hecker as he comes in. The freshman out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Free throw from Azooms is up and good.
And really quick, not to interrupt you here, Elijah, but my softball coach, Coach Josh Bartley, just texted me saying it was the right call against, I believe it was it Enzer? No, it was Bergeron, where he fell there and they called it a blocking foul, not a tripping foul. There is no tripping call in basketball. I will say I did not know that, so shout out Coach Bart. Thank you for that one.
So now the other way comes Wentworth. Hensler towards the rim, hands it off. Good pump fake there by Azooms, and we will get a foul up top. And this one is going on Lorquette. Number 5 on Malik Lorquette. His night is done with 13-17 to go in the contest.
Man, and he is not a happy camper, and I can't really blame him. But right now, you see Coach Harris is talking to him in the corner, and I think that he's telling him, like, you know, it's one game. It's not like you're going to foul out of every single game. You hope he doesn't foul out of every single game at least. But, you know, just calm down a little bit. I'm sure that he's definitely frustrated at himself, knowing that he didn't need to essentially give up a couple of the fouls that he did tonight. But, you know, at this point, there's no turning back, and all you can do is support his team right now and hope they can get a win for him tonight.
For those freshmen, obviously a learning experience. Talked about how young of a team this is as Bice knocks down the jumper and brings it to within 7 for Wentworth. Even the guys on the floor, lots of sophomores out there, so still not a veteran group, and now we have a reach-in foul. And this game could get very touchy very quickly. It'll be a baseline inbound for UMass Boston, and now a substitution coming in for Wentworth as Marabilla will check right back in. And Charles Mitchell will inbound. Charlie Mitchell not on the bench right now for UMass Boston. He's trying to walk off that injury. Javaris Hill to the rim, and he finishes.
Man, I mean, Javaris Hill, just the strides that he takes, it doesn't take him much to get to the hoop. He just needs 2 or 3 big strides, and, you know, he's so long and athletic that that's all it takes for him to get there. But, you know, again, a freshman, not necessarily playing like a freshman. You know, you see him getting a little bit of experience in, and, you know, when you're a couple of games into the season like this, that's the point in time where, you know, yeah, you may be a freshman on the stat sheet, but, you know, you got to start playing like an upperclassman.
He's now tied for the game lead in points at 17. 7 of 9 from the floor for Javaris Hill. Beacons have stretched it to a 9-point game. This game was at one point in time a 16-point lead for UMass Boston. They kick it out. Bice is going to try a corner 3. It's no good. And Sanchez is going to go in transition. Alex Sanchez brings it back out. Gives it off to Boyd, and he might have turned it over, but Boyd gets there. Kicks it out. Corner Sinelli. Penetrates back out. Charles Mitchell a 3. No good. Bice with the rebound. And Wentworth, not a team that will go in transition, but Bice, a couple of nice moves towards the rim, and an offensive foul. Charge is taken there by Javaris Hill. Bice out of control. He runs into Hill. That'll take us to a media, and UMass Boston in front by 9. The Beacons leading on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well. But it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that. And it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network, and fortunate for UMass Boston, Charlie Mitchell is back out onto the floor. So he is now back for UMass Boston after getting rolled up on by Christmas just a few possessions ago. Sinelli hands off, and they'll go back to that weave action with Charles Mitchell. Gives it off to his brother Charlie. Boyd with under 10 on the shot clock. Guarded by Christmas. Kicks it out. Charles Mitchell, 3. He got it.
Man, is it nice to be able to say that again, huh? Charles Mitchell hitting a 3, last year, and then a foul. Great. Last year, just, one of the Beacon's best, if not the best, three-point shooter in Charles Mitchell. And this year, again, starting off a little bit slow. First couple of games in the season, he wasn't really being confident with the shot. You could see it in the way that he transitioned to get to shooting that ball. But again, never discouraged, keeps taking his shots. I would like to see a little bit more out of him, be a little bit more confident when you get the ball. Just, stick and pop.
Battle as the ball is on the floor, and a jump ball going to be called. Michael Boyd got his hands in there as Hecker was the one that almost lost it for Wentworth. 12-point lead for UMass Boston. That three-pointer by Charles Mitchell. He picked up the foul on the back end, but that could prove to be a big bucket in this game. If Wentworth is unable to get it back to single digits at any point in the contest. Here's a jumper. That one is no good with the toe on the line. And Javaris Hill quickly the other way. Hill scores with the left hand.
Man, I don't know if it's just me, but he floats in the air. And he got, he's so quick with his transition that it only takes him 1 or 2 steps to get him to the hoop. But again, he just floats in midair, and it gives him so much time to adjust his shot no matter where he is.
Hecker missed the wide open 3. They kick it out to Christmas. Christmas spins, can't get it to go. Sinelli with the rebound. Charlie Mitchell going quickly as Jason Harris is telling him to push it. Mitchell inside. Javaris Hill double teamed, lost the basketball, gets it back, and they're going to call a travel on Javaris Hill. Caught that ball, kind of went up with it awkwardly, and Hill gets the travel call. Even though that ball was stripped, it looked like he kind of went up with it twice.
And you see Kevin Nunez checking into the game here for the Beacons. Haven't seen much out of him today, not getting as many minutes as he normally would. I mean, he's the Beacons' leading rebounder, rebounds per game, at least in that category. Haven't seen much out of him today.
Christmas penetrates baseline, kicks it out. Hensler a 3, no good. Offensive rebound and can't get it to go for Azooms. But another foul on UMass Boston. And now, again, we're just past the 10-minute mark, and we'll have free throws the rest of the way for Wentworth. Azooms will be at the line. And what a second half he's put together for Wentworth. His first free throw is up and good, rattles home. That's now 18 points for Steven Azooms in this game. Had 4 in the first half, and he has exploded for 12 here in the second half.
That's the thing from players like him, though, is that, you might get off to a slow start here in the first half, but you can't discourage a guy like that, and you can't, expect your team at halftime saying, you only got 4 in the first half. We're not going to have to play tough defense on him in the second half, because he's one of those players that can, he can turn the Jets on, after halftime, and maybe all he needs is a little bit more confidence, a little bit of rest, kind of analyze how a team's playing to really figure out how he can get his buckets.
Azooms 2 for 2 from the line. Inside, Javaris Hill spins, and a foul is going to be called on Hecker. Azooms tried to take the charge, and Coach Galloway going to go over, and there you see he throws his hands up and says, hey, I can't get that call on my end. Yeah, but Hill will go to the line.
I think that's one of the things that both coaches are a little bit frustrated today. It's not necessarily the calls that the referees are making, it's the inconsistency. And, you see it a lot in baseball and softball and pretty much any sport. You see it in soccer as well that, if you're going to make a call at some point, you're going to call a charge here and there, that's fine as long as you keep being consistent. If that's going to be a call for the Beacons, got to be a call for the Leopards as well.
First free throw was no good by Hill. We talked about free throw shooting at the top. Next free throw is good by Javaris Hill, but this, the way it looks right now, will turn into a free throw shooting game, and if UMass Boston can't knock down their free throws, they might let Wentworth kind of creep their way back in. Hecker with it now, guarded by Nunez. Mentioned haven't seen a ton of Nunez, but could also be the fact that been a couple of other guys that have had some successful games to this point as Marabello drives to the rim and scores.
And he protected the ball the entire way there. You know, he just tucked it away like a little running back and just, you know, found his way to the rack and get himself 2 points.
Nunez down the lane, and he is fouled. For Coach Harris, just such a deep team this year. A lot of guys that can come off the bench and score, only going about 8 deep so far this year, but all 8 guys find a way to score the basketball. And you can really say it's been a team effort of guys that have come up and had those big games. That free throw falls home for Nunez, but Kevin Nunez has had big games this year. You've got Javaris Hill. Tonight it's been Alex Sanchez, Michael Boyd, and a lot of different guys that have contributed offensively.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's, I was talking to, you know, our assistant SID, Seth Orensky, the other day, and just mentioning how, you know, Coach Harris was talking about it, that, you know, some of his veteran guys haven't really been going off for, you know, the points that they've had in the past, but, you know, your new guys are doing that job for you. And you got to wonder if everyone has a tremendous day every day, you know, how successful this Beacons team can be.
There's another bucket for Steven Azooms. So he puts it in, and that is now 21 points for Steven Azooms on the night. Turnover here. Hensler into Boyd, and that's going to be a block on Michael Boyd.
Oh, man.
Not sure if Boyd, he decided about midway through that he was going to take the charge and then didn't fall down. And that is 90% of the time the reason you don't get that call, but Boyd just trying to get in front right at the last moment.
Yeah, I don't think he had his feet completely set, which I'm guessing is going to be what the referees are going to argue, is that, you know, his feet weren't completely set. But Charles Mitchell just coming up and swatting that. And you got to wonder if that thing didn't go as a call. That might have been the block of the year for this Beacons team, or even for Charles Mitchell.
So Hensler now in double figures. That was point number 10. And Wentworth can't cut it to a single-digit game. Here comes Charles Mitchell quickly. Mitchell thought about pulling that quick transition 3, but thought better of it. And now Boyd goes back up top. Back in the zone are the Leopards. Skip pass cross court to the corner, Sanchez. That one's short off the front rim, and here comes Hensler. Transition in numbers, 2-on-1. Hensler to the rim, and he's fouled by really 3 different Beacons. He'll go to the line to shoot 2.
Yeah, I mean, that was 1 black jersey surrounded by 3 white jerseys. I mean, at some, you know, statistically speaking, someone drew contact on that play, and you know, the referees obviously saw it. They probably have a much better view than we do from up here, but still, you know, the turnovers like that, yeah, you're not giving them the 2 easy points. But again, you know, when the Leopards have been to the free throw line so often today, you know, you got to wonder, they got to make the most out of these shots.
Hensler misses there for Wentworth. We talked about what they're shooting from the foul line this year, just 69%. Next free throw from Hensler, that one is good. It's a 9-point lead for UMass Boston. Michael Boyd with the basketball, guarded by Marabello. He's trying to slow it down here with about 13 seconds remaining on the shot clock. Charles Mitchell, high post to Sinelli. Sinelli towards the rim on the right side, can't get it to go. It was tipped and out of bounds off of Javaris Hill. So Javaris Hill had that ball knocked away, and that will be a timeout. UMass Boston leading by 9 here on the Beacon Broadcast Network. Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network. A 60-51 lead for UMass Boston. 9-point advantage, and the Beacons have come out and had a impressive performance to start this game. Second half has not gone as they might have hoped, but it's been very even for both of these teams numbers-wise here in the second half, and the emergence of Steven Azooms. 21 points now for Azooms on the game. 9 for 13 from the floor. He's only got 3 rebounds, but it's been the offensive ability of Azooms that has brought this Wentworth team to life. And after trailing by 16 at one point, they're now only down by 9. Hensler trying to get that one to Hill, and no kick ball. It went off the foot of Hill. Javaris Hill to the rim, but he traveled with it. An extra step by Javaris Hill, and Coach Galloway was furious on the far side, and he said that Hensler just threw the ball right into Javaris Hill's foot. There was no kicking motion, so in fact they didn't rule that it was a kick ball. Now Christmas with the basketball, guarded tightly by Charles Mitchell. Bergeron to the rim, tried to dump it off, and it was taken away by Hill. Alex Sanchez back to Hill, left hand, and scores. So smooth in the air for Javaris Hill.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got a couple inches on, most of the guys. I mean, we're talking Hensler was defending him, and he's at 6'1". Javaris Hill standing at 6'4", 6'5". So, especially when you're going up and you got the momentum running at it, it doesn't take much for you to go up for that finger roll, and he's just using his height to his advantage.
How about a quiet 22 for Javaris Hill on 8 of 10 shooting for UMass Boston here tonight. Hensler trying to inbound, and that one was knocked away off the hand of Michael Boyd. So it stays with the Wentworth Leopards. Hill 9 of 11 from the floor. They inbound here. Mirabella with it. They go inside Azooms. Quick double team by Charles Mitchell. We're going to go right back inside with under 10 on the shot clock. Azooms tripped, stumbled, and we're going to get a foul called on Michael Boyd. It's going to be a blocking foul on Boyd, and that'll be, I believe, the third on Michael Boyd. It is.
I was just shocked to see that Michael Boyd was down there playing as the help for Javaris Hill. Normally that would have been, a guy like Dason Sinelli, and you're going with a much smaller, so to speak, Beacon's lineup here. I mean, obviously Malik Lorquette fouled out. Mark Monroe's got 3 or 4 fouls on him already. So Javaris Hill essentially playing as your center, as your number 5. And you're going with a little bit of a smaller lineup. But again, Michael Boyd stepping over to help, and Steven Azooms didn't have to do much there to get that call drawn.
12 for 17 from the line for Wentworth in this game. And for Steven Azooms, that is point number 22. He cuts it to 10. 6:35 remaining here in this contest. Sinelli at the high post, kicks it corner. Boyd, good pump fake, back out to Charles Mitchell. Mitchell, step back jumper is no good, but he was fouled by Hensler. And Charles Mitchell will go to the line, try and add to this advantage. It's a 10-point game. UMass Boston in front. And Wentworth, you think, been down 16. They've been down double figures the majority of the second half. First free throw no good for Mitchell. But they did lead at one point in the first half. Ended up taking a very quick and slim lead. Second free throw is good for Mitchell.
Now, you talk about free throw shooting, and we'll take a look at the stats at the end of the game, but free throw shooting for both of these teams, I mean, it could be a completely different game both ways. If Wentworth hits 2/3 of their shots, or maybe even a little more, they could be cutting this 10-point lead down to, 3 or 4.
Charles Mitchell lays it in. A timeout by Coach Galloway. This is going to be a 30-second timeout, but UMass Boston back in front by 13. And so far it's been, again, besides that point in this contest when Wentworth took the lead, Wentworth has battled and battled and battled, but they haven't been able to get over that hump. That's been about 10 points for the Leopards.
Yeah, and that's annoying, when you're a team and you're doing, most things right, offensively and defensively speaking. But again, it comes down to the little details, and it's converting on free throw shooting. It's being a little bit more careful with the ball and the possessions, because at the end of the day, all it takes is 2 really good stops defensively, get a couple of points in transition, and this could be a completely different game for the Leopards. And they're fighting, they're clawing. I mean, they were down by 15, 17 at some point in the first half, and that they easily could have said, you know what, like, we're going to lose to this team, whatever, we're going to go on winter break and, come back and get 2 weeks off or whatever. But they're fighting right now, and Coach Galloway's got to be a little proud of his boys. It's still 6 minutes left in this game. There's a lot of basketball to be played.
Well, Wentworth will head to Worcester for the winter break. They will play at Clark University in the Holiday Classic over at Clark, and they'll take on Worcester State in the first game of that tournament. That one taken away by Bice. And now a battle for it. Loose ball picked up by Mitchell. Charles Mitchell to Sanchez. He stumbled. Might have had Javaris Hill cutting to the rim. 13-point game. Back up top to Boyd. High post, Sinelli. Inside. Hill had it stripped away, and the Leopards take it the other way. Mirabello towards the rim. Nice pass to Christmas, and he'll lay it in.
And that's just some ball watching there by the Beacons. I mean, you got a couple of guys, and I think that Christmas was just, or Mirabello, I should say, was, just a little too quick for them. And you get, 3 or 4 guys just standing there ball watching and saying, hey, oh, look, there's the ball. And next thing you know, it's in the hoop.
Here we are again back at that 11-point deficit. To the corner, Michael Boyd a 3. That one's short of everything. 5 seconds still on the shot clock. No reset. Sanchez has to fire and knocks it down. Alex Sanchez.
Wow, let me tell you something. That kid, I mean, he deserves the game ball after today. I mean, yes, Javaris Hill has had a tremendous game as well, but for Alex Sanchez, a 5'7" guard to come out and play against guys that are, a lot, taller and longer than he is, and to have a game that he's having today and to be able to make that shot, I mean, he was so far away. If we can take a look at that replay again, I mean, that'd be tremendous. But, you got 3 seconds left on the shot clock. You got the coaches yelling, look at him. He takes the ball, takes 1, 2 steps, pulls up. He's so off balance there and just swish. No point in time did that ball hit the rim at any point. And, he's just, you got to credit him for the game that he's having here tonight.
And that's one way to knock down your first three-pointer of the game. He was 0 for 3 prior to that point from beyond the arc. Had a couple of good looks in the first half, just didn't knock him down, but apparently just needed to be fading away with a hand in his face, and that's all that he needed to have success from beyond the arc. Inside goes to Hensler, and he's going to be fouled. See how this goes on. That's going to go on Javaris Hill. So we've already got more Lorquette on the bench after he's fouled out of this game, and he fouled out with 9:29 to go in the contest. Mark Monroe, he's got 4, and Javaris Hill now with 4 as well. So Hensler will be at the line. First free throw is up and good. Back to 13, and UMass Boston, majority of their scoring has been either from number 1 or number 2. The 2 that just passed the ball back and forth, Alex Sanchez and Javaris Hill, been the culprits so far tonight. And now trying to kill as much clock as possible are the Beacons, who lead it by 13. Floater for Alex Sanchez. He's got 21.
And you think him and Javaris Hill are talking off the bench saying, hey, you got 22, I'm going to catch up to you and try to outscore you, because, man, this has been a two-man show, and usually you talk about the Beacons team, it's one guy going off or no one going off, and for 2 of them to be going off tonight, I mean, that's huge for them.
No good from Hensler from the top of the arc. Bice swings it. Mirabello got a good look. No good off the back rim. Charles Mitchell gives it to Sanchez, and UMass Boston going to slow down the tempo a little bit here. Offensive firepower has not been a problem tonight. Dason Sinelli back off to Charles Mitchell. And you feel like that three-pointer by Sanchez as the shot clock was expiring kind of changed the momentum. Here's Mitchell, a 3, no good, rattled in and out. And Christmas comes down with a miss. Hensler back over Mirabello. Gives it to Christmas. Awkward fire, and it's no good. Rebound by Azooms, and a foul is called. That's going to be a jump ball. And guess who gets his hand in there? Alex Sanchez. Well, it's immediate timeout, and UMass Boston starting to pull away. It's been the Alex Sanchez show here in the second half. The Beacons in front big on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Welcome back on the Beacons Broadcast Network. Elijah Gonzalez, Gigi Braga alongside UMass Boston in command and in control. 70-55 over top of Wentworth. Here in this second half, Michael Boyd double-teamed right at the half-court line, had nowhere to go and gets it to Hill. Hill lays it in on the left side. That's 24 for Javaris Hill. And back and forth, him and Alex Sanchez go.
Yeah, and I mean, when two guys on this Beacons team right now just scoring, what, 2/3 of their points right now? I mean, that's insane. They've combined for 45 points out of the 72 that the Beacons have. That's insane numbers.
Hensler knocks down a deep three. UMass Boston still in front, but Wentworth going to have to find a way to do something they haven't done a lot here in the second half, which is force turnovers, and they just forced one there. A 10-second violation in the backcourt on the Beacons.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I mean, you got 2 minutes and 15 seconds left into this game. You know, you're down by 15. You really got to start pressing. We're talking full court press, half court press, whatever it is. You got to make the Beacons take these quick possessions, either turn the ball over quickly. You can't let them waste all 30 seconds on the shot clock because you need like 5 really good possessions in order to get back into this game.
And now Wentworth has decided that they're going to go with a whole new group as Hecker knocks it down. And this might be essentially the end of Wentworth trying to press and foul, and a 12-point lead with under 2 minutes to go. Coach Galloway has sat his entire starting lineup. They go inside to Monroe. Monroe spinning, and he traveled with it before he took that final step. Now a substitution comes in for UMass Boston. Zilu checks in.
Yeah, and Z is one of those players that, it's great role players, getting, a couple minutes here and there for this Beacons team. He had to sit out all of his freshman year with a foot injury, kind of getting back into it this year, and he's one of those players that can really be an impact for the Beacons team this year. So it's great to see him having a couple minutes here, build up his confidence a little bit.
So Boyd have the basketball, and UMass Boston try and kill some more clock. Sanchez trapped, gets it off to Michael Boyd. To the corner, Charles Mitchell, three-pointer, no good. Grab there on the rebound, but taken away by Sanchez. And UMass Boston, every time they've needed it, they've come up with a big turnover. And now under a minute to go, and they look like they're going to coast to victory, number 6 on the year. Boyd, no good on the runner. And it's grabbed, and the Leopards will now have a chance to come down and maybe score quick. Lennon kicks it out. Here's a three-pointer. That one is no good. And an offensive rebound once again here by Wentworth, but turned over. Charles Mitchell lays it in on the right side.
I mean, that's great hustle there by the Beacons. I mean, you're up by, so much already in this game, and there's 20 seconds left, and, you can just hold on to it, but, why not? Pedal to the metal.
Shot was no good there by Tyler Lennon. Alex Sanchez will dribble it across half court, and this will do it. UMass Boston is going to come away victorious, and they will have to wait until January 3rd of 2019 to come back out on the floor as they'll host Suffolk in a 3 o'clock matchup. That's the next time that they'll be out on the floor here at the Clark Athletic Center, but they get it done here as they defeat Wentworth by a final score of 74-62. GG, an all-around impressive performance by UMass Boston, and especially from Alex Sanchez and Javaris Hill.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great overall team win. Yes, you get good minutes from a couple of guys here and there, but when you talk about, guys like Sanchez and Hill, I mean, they really put the team on their back today, and if it wasn't for them, for one of them or even both of them today, this could have been a completely different game, and I'm sure that's really going to fire Coach Harris up and kind of tell his boys that, they got to compete a little bit more, even with each other. Push each other.
We'll step aside. We come back. We'll have head coach Jason Harris here on the Beacon Broadcast Network. UMass Boston victorious against Wentworth inside the Clark Athletic Center.
What's really unique, I think, here is that we're really encouraged to not just do research, but to do research that really improves people's lives and solves problems.
Society has really never had to deal with a problem as complex as dealing with climate change before.
Climate Ready Boston is our data-driven approach to climate change and how we can make sure the city of Boston is prepared for the next 100 years. By leveraging the expertise of UMass Boston and Paul and Ellen, we've been able to take the very best science on sea level rise and translate that into a vulnerability assessment. Really what we've relied on them for is their technical expertise and really helping us understand what the science is saying to help us understand what we need to do next, both from a policy perspective, but then also in terms of projects and financing as well.
UMass Boston actually has a long history of working on environmental problems. One of the earliest programs is working in the cleanup of Boston Harbor in the 80s, and that was actually the genesis for the eventual School for the Environment. We started this program in green chemistry, and we're the first university to offer a PhD in that. And then also the School for the Environment is now working in Nantucket and Gloucester and other places around the world.
I was giving a talk.
Welcome back on the Beacon Broadcast Network. I'm Elijah Gonzalez. UMass Boston gets it done 74-62 over top of Wentworth, and I'm now joined by head coach Jason Harris. And coach, let's start with that second half. In the first half, you said you liked the way your team competed early. What did you think in the second half were some positive spots for you offensively and defensively?
Yeah, a little upset we didn't keep our foot on the gas, but the kids played tough. We still had some mental lapses. Like I said, when you're playing hard, that's all we're focused on for the last couple of days, is just playing hard. I thought we played hard for the most part. Now we got a couple weeks to tighten it up and get ready for the second semester.
And individually, Alex Sanchez with a very impressive performance, a guy who really has stepped up for you guys. What did you like out of Alex Sanchez here tonight?
He just made shots. I mean, Alex plays the same way every day in practice. He's going to play that hard every day, and he's been struggling a little bit to make shots, and some of that might be the time off, but he's starting to get, he's getting better with the reps, and Alex is a great kid, man. We got a bunch of great kids on the team, and Alex is one of the best. He works harder than anybody else.
So you now have this break. Obviously, you'll come back and play on January 3rd right here inside the Clark Athletic Center against Suffolk. What's the key to keeping the guys ready and prepared for coming out in 2019 and having success similarly in Little East Conference play as well?
Finishing the academic semester strong, because if you don't do that, then it doesn't matter. So now these guys, they've been focusing so hard on athletics. Now they got to kind of buckle down for the last 10 days and finish the semester, and then we got to get some guys improving. We got to get guys that didn't play a lot the first semester. Some of the young guys, they're good enough to play. I think the game was a little too fast, so now I think we got to catch them up to speed, and we got to tighten everybody else up.
All right, Coach. Well, congrats on the final win here in 2018, and best of luck as the season continues.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays as well. UMass Boston able to get the win 74-62 over top of Wentworth. We'll step aside one more time. We come back. GG and I will break it all down right here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. After he came out about under 2 minutes into the first half, turnover there. Sanchez left side lays it. Bergeron gives it over Hensler, now they're trying to go inside. Good seal by Azooms. He scores and the bucket. And that
hope they get a win for him tonight.
For those freshmen, obviously a learning experience. Talked about how young of a team this is. As Bice not right now for UMass Boston. He's trying to walk off that injury. Javaris Hill to the rim, and he finishes. 10 on the shot clock. Guarded by Christmas. Kicks it out. Charles Mitchell, 3. He got it. Here's a jumper. That one is no good with the toe on the line. And Javaris Hill quickly the other way. Hill scores with the left hand. Bergeron to the rim. Tried to dump it off, and it was taken away by Hill. Alex Sanchez back to Hill. Left hand and score.
You know, if Wentworth hits, 2/3 of their shots or maybe even a little more, they could be cutting this 10-point lead down to, 3 or 4.
5 seconds still on the shot clock. No reset. Sanchez has to fire and knocks it down.
Scoring, 2/3 of their points right now? I mean, that's insane. They've combined for 45 points out of the 72 of the Beacons.
That one is no good. And an offensive rebound once again here by Wentworth, but turned over. Charles Mitchell lays it in on the right side.
With its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
Welcome back on the Beacons Broadcast Network. Elijah Gonzalez, Gigi Braga alongside. UMass Boston able to get the win 74-62 over top of Wentworth. And we take a look at the final numbers. And Gigi, again, we talked about how lopsided it was early in the first half. Things started to even out, but the three-point shooting for UMass Boston, ironically, not all that great, but Alex Sanchez with the biggest shot of the game from beyond the arc.
Yeah, I mean, the Beacons definitely improved their three-point shooting. I mean, not a 21%, not great numbers, and 28 for the Leopards, again, not great numbers as well, but the rebounds. I mean, at the first half, it was a 10-point rebound margin. Now we're down to 3 for the the Leopards. I mean, 27-30, that's not too bad. The big thing, though, I mean, the assist to turnover ratio. I mean, 10 for each team. That's huge, and that's something that both coaches are going to want to talk to their teams over this finals break. That's something that they're going to want to improve on.
So UMass Boston able to get the win, and you heard Coach Harris say that now it's time to focus on the academics, but getting his team ready for January as they will host Suffolk right here at home to start the January campaign. And we take a look at the team leaders for UMass Boston. Of course, we talked about our player of the game, Alex Sanchez, the 21 points. Javaris Hill, of course, adding his 24. But you heard what Coach Harris had to say about Alex Sanchez, a guy who continues to compete night in and night out. And finally tonight it paid off for Alex Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Harris is not wrong when he says that Alex Sanchez is one of the most hardworking guys. I mean, you see it day in and day out on the court. You see it at practice as well in games. Wherever he is, he's in there putting work, and you got to credit him. And I'm glad that he had such a tremendous, game on the stat sheets, scoring 21 points. I mean, he plays tremendous games as well, but oftentimes it's on the defensive end, and, you don't really see him on the final team leaders or even halftime leaders. But, today he's, shining a light.
And on the other side for Wentworth, it was Stephen Azooms that put up a solid night along with Hensler. Those two guys, very impressive for the Wentworth Leopards. However, they do come out on the short end of a 74-62 loss against the UMass Boston Beacons. And we take a look at what's ahead for UMass Boston. And, of course, they won't play until 2019. They'll take on Suffolk. That game will start at 3 o'clock. And they'll play on the 5th. They'll get right back into conference play as they take on UMass Dartmouth. That one on the road, and that's the first time they'll see them on the year. And then they'll play at Tufts, of course, at 7 o'clock on the 8th. But you take a look at that schedule, Gigi, you got 2 non-conference games, but mixed in the middle is always that tough one against UMass Dartmouth.
Yeah, I mean, interstate rivals, I mean, that's going to be a great game. Going to be off a break for, 2.5 weeks, come back, play a good Suffolk team at home, which is great, but then you got to travel all the way to Dartmouth 2 days later. And, you got to wonder if there's still going to be, some cobwebs that you got to brush off a little bit after that break. Always, UMass Dartmouth's one of those games that could go either way. If the Beacons win, that could be a season changer for them. But again, if they lose, could put them to the lower tier of in the Little East Conference.
So UMass Boston sitting now at 6-4 overall, 1-3 in Little East Conference play. In the Leopards, they fall to 2-7, and 1-2 in Commonwealth Coast Conference play for them. So that will do it for our broadcast here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. For my broadcast partner, Gigi Braga, I am Elijah Gonzalez saying so long. Once again, the final score, UMass Boston victorious 74-62. Have a great night, everybody.